Good evening, and welcome to another historical episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. And now here's your slightly ignorant host, Voice of Doom. Hello. Haven't done a diatribe in a couple days because of the holidays. And it's not because I am pious and follow the dictates of our social masters, because when they say buy turkey, I buy bacon. If they say buy flowers for your wife, I do something else, because I do not want my chain pulled due to holidays which have been obfuscated and slightly irreverent. And my kids are the same way, so we do not go rushing out to buy stuffing and cranberry sauce just because it's the third or fourth Thursday in, what month is it? November? We just don't do it. We'll have turkey, but it'll be in April. We'll have Easter eggs in December. I don't give a crap. Now, Thanksgiving is a very good day if you celebrate it correctly. And if you want to celebrate it correctly, you should be thankful. You should have gratitude that you're even alive, that you were born on this planet. And if you're even more lucky, you might be born in America, because it's a great country. Even if it's going to hell in a handbasket, it's still a great country compared to others. And if you browse through gravitas, you can see that the rest of the world is blowing up, and people are in the streets. So I'm grateful, and I spend the day of Thanksgiving being grateful. And it doesn't involve stuffing myself with food. People can do whatever they want. It's fine. It's all good. But that's just not how we do it. Now, I wanted to do a few diatribes on the nature of good and bad. I say good and bad because you don't say good and evil, because evil's the essence of negative forces. It's the essence of badness. It's like Buddhahood is the ultimate aspiration for any sentient being, and the opposite of that would be evil. Now, good and bad are in the middle. There's evil, and then there's Buddhahood. And good and bad are subjective, and you never know what's good and what's bad. But I want to kind of get into these kind of subjects because it's 12:18 a.m. in the Pacific region of the used to be states. And there's only 5 days left. I'm telling you right now. And I don't mean 5 days left until the end of the world. Forget that. There's 5 days left until the conflagration comes big time, and people notice it because they're starting to notice it. But let's be grateful and discuss Thanksgiving, because I saw Saints and Sinners. I believe it was a mini-series made probably 10 years ago. And my wife really liked it, and we had it on our DVD or DVR or whatever the hell it is. and we watched it a bunch of times. And it was really interesting because, these people came over here and they weren't just pilgrims. There were sailors and there were trappers or opportunists, I guess you would call them. And they all came over to the New World because they wanted to get away from persecution. And some wanted to come over here just to see what was over here and see what kind of money they can make out of it. So they sailed to the continent that, became what is now the former United States. And they did not come over here with any idea that they were systemically in charge because they were white. They came over in a rattletrap ship, and they were lucky to even make it in the first place, and they were dying as they were coming because life was precarious in those days. And they came to America, and they were very lucky to get off the ship and find some crabs and some crawdads and some crawling things on the shore, which were teeming because it was an empty, well, it wasn't an empty continent, but there weren't that many people, so you could go out and get seafood very easily. And they were very happy to do it because they were close to starving. And then they got to America, Plymouth Rock, and, as Malcolm X said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on us. Well, he was smart enough to know history, and he would realize that, yeah, everybody had to suffer. Now, they came to America, and I don't know, I'm sure they knew what seasons were, and I'm sure they might have thought, well, let's see the logistics of going, and they went, but, winter sets in, and they're like stuck on a continent that they're just barely lucky to put in some huts and shacks to live in. Now, the story of Thanksgiving, basically, and I'm not going to say it right, you do your own homework. I don't want to be a historian. I want to talk about the big picture, existential existence, good and bad. Squanto was an Indian, he was a Native American who somehow was kidnapped because apparently there was activity going on this continent before the Pilgrims came. They knew about this continent, and people did this and that. He was kidnapped. He was taken to Europe. He was a slave. And somehow, by accident or design, he managed to find his way back to the western continent of what is now a shell of what used to be America. And he learned English, and when he got back to the continent, he realized that everybody he knew was gone. So anybody with any real, feelings of vengeance or feeling like something's, been wrong would say, well, I don't know where they all went. But apparently the settlers and the opportunists and the sailors managed to make it to Plymouth Rock. And they had a hard time of it, okay? And 50% of them died in the first year, okay? Now, they were about to perish, and it would have been a total waste of time. I mean, they were escaping persecution, but they were leaving and then finding death because they were, they were helpless. Just picture yourself on the beach in Massachusetts or Virginia or whatever the hell, And winter sets in, and you don't know what the hell you're going to do because you haven't had enough time to get any stability. So this guy Squanto is there, and he speaks English, and he knows the lay of the land, and he helps them. And it's a miracle. And it's part of the, the strange mysteries of history that he said, I'm going to help these people, because he was probably a Buddha. He just didn't realize it because Buddhism hadn't reached him, but he was a Buddha because he had compassion. Even after the Europeans had kidnapped him, made him a slave, and he somehow made it back and finds out that his whole civilization, his whole community is gone. Anybody would feel angry, but he didn't. Or if he did, he channeled it into, I'm going to help these poor people because they're going to die. So he taught them. And they learned how to grow, they learned how to fish, they learned how to do what you had to do to live on the land, survivalists, And there was a celebration when they got in their first harvest, and they were stabilizing, and they were building a little community, and there was a Thanksgiving between the Native Americans and the settlers. And it's a beautiful story, but it's not beautiful like you learn in elementary school, that the natives were noble and they were, but they were warring, and there was political crap going on. There was lots of tribes, and they warred with each other, and there was all kinds of intrigue. Now, Squanto, was that catalyst, was that nexus of allowing history to play out the way it's played out. And you can call him whatever you want to, but he died. And he died of smallpox, and I think he died from being in contact with these pilgrims from Europe. I mean, it's obvious. And turnabout is fair play and cause and effect. So we're going to suffer from outside viruses and diseases brought in from other people. So that's the way it's going to be. But the basic thing is, these people are very huge. They're very big. They are above retribution and vengeance, and they have a deeper purpose. And the purpose for Squanto was to help. And it may have been leading to their demise, but it also led to creating a country that was very different from other countries. And it might have been a very noble gesture, a very noble endeavor. I mean, between 1650 or whatever the hell it was and 1776, I mean, many people came to America, and they were opportunists, and they brought disease with them, and that's all accepted. People accept that. It's just the way things went. And the bottom line is, that's the history of Thanksgiving in a nutshell. You can find you can do your own research. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful that, I'm happy. So, and not just because I'm happy. I mean, I don't need much. I'm just happy to be alive, and I'm happy that I have a mission. And I'm happy that, you know, I don't know. It's kind of a rambling thing. I don't even know if this is going to make it. It's almost 16 minutes. I've said nothing. But I'm thankful, and everybody should be thankful. And they don't have to stuff their face to say they're thankful. I mean, you look at the atrocities, you look at people getting run over. You know, they went to a parade, and they were probably very happy to just go to their little community parade, and people died because there's evil out there. And I'm going to talk about good and evil next time. And I'm going to try to make it coherent because it's a very big subject. And it's the essence of how we're going to either make it or not. And I wanted to just talk about Thanksgiving on this Saturday because it may be the last Thanksgiving, and it probably will be, because things are coming that are going to be very horrendous and people are going to have a cow. So I won't leave you without a bit of fatalism, because that's my theme. And it's getting too long already. I'm sorry, it wasn't anything. I wish it could have been a little better, but I didn't plan. I'm just off the top of my head as usual. So enjoy the next 5 days, and we'll see what happens. And I'll tell you why we're doomed next episode. So good night, and it's a pleasure.